Alright, it's time to clear out the pool. I'm diving in right away. I know most of you found me thanks to my acting career. I starred in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. I wasn't the lead role, but I was the most important role. I was the glue that held the entire franchise together. My character was District 8 Hospital Helper, a character that is still celebrated and studied extensively in the theatrical arts universities to this day. And this is an old wound, but I'll pour salt in it briefly. I was snubbed for the Oscars that season due to a little behind the scenes corruption. I know we can never forget the riots that year due to my absence from the category of Best Actor. District 8 Hospital Helper is still a timeless performance, and I'm getting a bit lost. I don't usually like to bring this up because it feels rather vain and even a little braggadocious to be tooting my own horn and discussing my acting achievements, but the reason I'm mentioning it now is because it's applicable to what I want to talk about today. Hollywood's full of fucking weirdos. Like, straight up, I'm just gonna feed you the vegetables. Hollywood is just fucking evil. There is so much awful shit that goes on in that industry. I don't even know where to begin. Now, this isn't to say that while I was on the set of The Hunger Games for 2 weeks, I noticed terrible things happening to actors or actresses or anything shady, because I didn't. Everyone I met seemed very normal. Jennifer Lawrence asked for my autograph, which I kindly obliged. Nothing really gave me the heebie-jeebies about the experience, but there was one thing that I always found a little fucked up. One of the scenes I was in took place outside at night, and it was very cold that evening. It was like 40 degrees out, and this scene called for rain. So to simulate rain, they had this piping overhead with holes in it that they pumped hose water in, and just had rain pouring on us. And that shit was like ice. It was fucking brutal. And a couple of the older actors that were on set for that scene had to be rushed inside to the tents for emergency warmth due to a hypothermia risk. I've mentioned that on stream before, but it's always just struck me as like a weird thing that could have been handled a little better. It just seemed a little irresponsible. But other than that, I didn't have any like noteworthy bad experience with the whole situation, even though it was a huge Hollywood production. I didn't have fucking Harvey Weinstein in a trench coat come up to me behind one of the tents or anything. Like, it was just a really normal and fun experience. But I'm not stupid enough to think that my one experience in Hollywood is indicative of the industry as a whole. There is an unholy mountain of evidence about the terrible shit that goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood, especially when it comes to like child actors and shit like that. Like, there is so much deplorable garbage that goes on in Hollywood, it makes your head spin. Almost everything you ever read about like the behind the scenes of Hollywood is so fucked up. You have very well respected industry veterans coming forward to highlight some awful shit that's gone on over the years, and that brings us to the clip I'd like to show you today that is the catalyst for me wanting to even talk about the whole subject. This comes from an actress whom you might recognize from her biggest recent role in Stranger Things Season 4, where she played Chrissy. Her real name is Grace Van Dien, and she streams pretty regularly on Twitch under the name Bluefy. A couple days ago, before starting her Valorant stream, she was just talking to chat and mentioned that she's recently turned down 4 acting projects due to a horrible experience or experiences she has had in the industry with her bosses. So I'll go ahead and play you the clip right now. Well, there's a clip that's going viral, but I want to play you the entirety of that section so you get the full context instead of just the 60 seconds.
In the last 2.5 weeks, I've turned down 4 movies. Because here's the thing. I've seen that some people are upset with me for turning down acting projects and deciding to stream more, but the fact of the matter is the last few projects I've worked on, I didn't have the best experiences with some of the people I had to work for, and with streaming, I get to choose who I hang out with, who I talk to, etc., etc. Yeah. One of the last movies I did, one of the producers asked me to, like, he hired a girl that he was sleeping with, and then he had her ask me to have a threesome with them. So, like, that's my boss. And then I didn't, and I cried, and I was so upset. But it's like when people are like, how is streaming better for your mental health? That's how. I get to stay inside my home and play video games, and I don't have my boss asking me to have sex with them. So that's how this is better for my mental health.
That's absolutely horrible to hear, and it also really fucking sucks that I'm not even surprised to hear it. With all of the information that surfaced about the behind the scenes with these Hollywood elites, the amount of exploitation, especially sexual exploitation in the industry, is just completely unforgivable. And just judging from her story, it feels like this wasn't the producer's first rodeo doing this, of trying to solicit sex out of his employees, or try and coerce employees into sexual encounters. It seems like by having the girl that he hired to fuck be the one to ask her, it was supposed to be like this layer of like plausible deniability. So if Grace did speak out, he'd be like, oh, whoa, no, I would never do that. That was that girl. She's a real loose cannon. That wasn't me. Absolutely not. And now you're blacklisted in Hollywood for even saying that. Now, of course, I don't know who this producer is, so I'm not able to pull up like the scouting reporter resume, but I would wager a guess that they've probably done this before on up-and-coming talent to try and give them like this push to do it, because the perception is, this is my boss. If I say no, I might get let go of the project. This could have wide-reaching ramifications for my career going forward. Like, this could cause me problems in the future, so I guess I'll just go along with this sexual advance from this guy. Clearly awful, evil shit. I think it's no surprise that Grace would choose to focus on something like streaming where she has all the power, as opposed to a slimy, fucking pathetic subhuman worm like this producer that she's mentioning here. And this is just the publicly available information. I can't even imagine, I can't even fucking fathom with my tiny little smooth reptile brain the number of actors and actresses over the years that have most likely quietly suffered behind the scenes. Very similar to what Grace Van Dien's gone through, but they haven't had a voice to talk about it. It's an awful thing. And I would like to make it clear, because I do see people bring this up. This isn't something that's exclusive to just women in Hollywood. This happens to men too. Quick examples right off the top of my head. Terry Crews, Brendan Fraser. Like, it is something that is just a widespread problem in Hollywood itself. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure women are the main victims to these evil Hollywood elite fiends, but it's not exclusive to just women. Men, as well as children too, are very real victims that are being preyed upon by these monsters that are abusing their power and taking advantage of everyone they can. It's sickening. It really is. Like, it's a horrible situation, and it totally makes sense why Grace would focus more on something like streaming when she's had these experiences in that industry. Like she mentions, in streaming, you are your own boss. You choose your hours, you choose who you play with, who you talk to, what you're playing. You respond to the chat messages you want to. You're not obligated to. Like, it is totally in your control. Whereas in acting in Hollywood, you don't choose your coworkers. You don't choose anything about what you're doing, and you have to play along. And especially in Hollywood, where if you don't play along, this fucking ring of evil vampires is connected so tightly that if you are someone that rocks the boat, you get blacklisted and you won't land future roles. That has been well documented as well, that there is like an actual Hollywood blacklist for people that are maybe a little too forthcoming with what's happening behind the scenes. Like, it's a scary spot full of scary, powerful people. Grace Van Dien doesn't mention this producer's name. And I think that's a very important thing to notice. And it's not like she did anything wrong by keeping his name a secret. But I feel like the reason she wouldn't name and shame this person, and she would have every right to, is because the person has so much power in the industry. Whether that's lawyers or general industry pull, where if she did out them publicly, he would pull strings to ensure she never works a day in her life again in that field. There is such a huge risk to her should she speak out against these people. I imagine this is the primary reason why a lot of these people are still in those positions of power, because their victims feel like they can't speak out, or else it's a huge risk to their own safety, their own financial well-being, their career. Like, there's just a lot of potential problems that could arise from them just even speaking out about it. It's terrifying. It really is. And it's horrible what Grace has gone through. It fucking sucks to hear that. It's awful. And my heart breaks for everyone in the industry that's had similar experiences to Grace. It's honestly, Hollywood is just so fucking corrupt. There are so many awful people that operate in that industry and have openly operated in that industry for quite some time now. Now, I'm not saying everyone in Hollywood's bad, of course. There are going to be some good people in Hollywood, absolutely. It's not 100%. But we can't dismiss the fact that there is an outrageously large amount of scum and fucking terrible things that have been happening behind the scenes for years. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about all of that. That's really about it. So, yeah.